What would you think if you were told that Bucaramanga is leader in middle-class consolidation and one of the 30 most attractive cities to invest in Latin America?
Bucaramanga is that and much more.
An emerging city, recognized by the World Bank as one of the 6 cities with the most prosperous economies in the world, recognized by the Inter-American Development Bank as the most sustainable and competitive in Latin America, and chosen by the Financial Times Journal as one of the American cities of the future. It is a vibrant city, open to new business. It has the largest economic growth in the country, driven by the business dynamics that contribute most to regional development, such as health, agro-industry, construction, oil and gas, global services, education, and tourism. It is the heart of a region with a rich history. With breathtaking scenery and national treasures. This is Bucaramanga, a city connected with Colombia and the world through the Palo Negro International Airport, one of the most important in the country, with top-notch modern facilities. The city features some of the most recognized hotel brands. With all the infrastructure, logistics, services, and support needed to satisfy any needs for successful large events. This is a privileged place where you can combine work, relaxation, and fun thanks to a wide range of gastronomic, cultural, and entertainment offerings. We are looking forward to have you here in Bucaramanga, a city that enriches the experience of its visitors.
Good morning, everyone. Good to see you all again. As you know, I've been traveling throughout Colombia in search of places to hold our special events. And what I found surprising in Colombia is the cultural and geographical diversity. I discovered a destination where everything you experience is full of purity and magic. This is a country where nature, history, and innovation all live together. And with these characteristics, I know our events will be exceptional. Everyone, all of us, will come back inspired, motivated, with great ideas for our company. And the local cuisine is amazing. This is a country that never ceases to amaze you, just like its city, Bucaramanga. It's considered the beautiful city and was recognized by the World Bank as one of the 6 most competitive cities in the world. It's a vibrant city where modern venues have been designed with the highest standards to produce any kind of event. Bucaramanga contrasts with its natural surroundings. I found places where the infrastructure and nature combine to make an ideal destination for business meetings. The whole city fills us with energy with its exceptional weather, constant adventure, and unforgettable experiences. I was truly surprised by Colombia and its contrasts, and its cultural and geographical diversity. Enjoying world-class golf clubs that are available all year round, sampling the local cuisine, or getting carried away by the culture that makes their friendly people so proud makes you want to go back again and again. Bucaramanga is ideal for conventions, conferences, trade shows, incentive trips, and golf vacations. Visiting this country is, without a doubt, the best way to find out what magical realism really is. This is why I strongly recommend Colombia for our next business trip. Thank you.
Mother Nature is in love with Colombia. Ingenious as she is, she created Santander, a region in the northeastern part of the country, endowed with an unbelievable range of landscapes. Its canyons, rivers, caves, waterfalls, trails, and mountains are fabulous places for ecotourism and also a forceful call to adventure. Let the Fonce, Suarez, and Chicamocha rivers flow through your veins while you plow the waters in a kayak, riverboard, or raft. an experience where you become one with the river and enjoy the placidness of its ponds and the vertigo of its rapids. It is easy to abandon yourself to the river. The Fonse will take you to the Gallineral Park, a bend of peace and calm that welcomes you at the end of an adventure. Thanks to huge canopies of leaves and long-hanging lichens that only allow a few rays of the sun to get through. Just a few minutes away, you can find majestic waterfalls, where climbing is the most exciting way of dealing with the scenery. While you slide down the waterfall, you feel the force of the water as a living element, and you live a purifying experience. There is a wealth of caves to be investigated by speleology lovers and explorers of the magic of darkness. On the way to Bucaramanga, capital of Santander, you will find the Chicamocha, a river, canyon, and a natural park, all crowned by the Chicamocha Natural Park. As you enter Bucaramanga, you will see the town of Ruitoque and its mountain. Here, you can make man's oldest dream come true. You can fly. Parapenting from this site, known as the Voladero Las Águilas, roughly the place where eagles fly, will virtually make you feel suspended in the clouds above the majestic capital of Santander. The Ruitoque Golf Club and the Bucaramanga Country Club offer excellent golf courses surrounded by the greenery of Santander. Or you could prefer to discover shopping in Bucaramanga, the pretty city, at the Cabecera or La Florida shopping centers. Now that you have set adventure aside, you can go back in time and get to know the other side of Santander, its history. Towns like El Socorro and Barichara, known as the prettiest village in Colombia, are the land of stone artisans, colonial architecture, magic, and beauty.
En otras partes, un turista más, no importa. Pero aquí todos los colombianos quieren hablarte, mostrarte este país que aman con pasión.
Experiencing Santander is to feel truly alive. It's experiencing how adventure, natural beauty, and history blend together in this part of paradise.
Esta aventura en la que llevo 3 años llamada Santander, la aventura de mi vida. Colombia, el riesgo es que te quieres quedar.
Right now, all we wish for is to be able to meet once more. But until that moment comes, our birds are taking a break. They've taken to the skies, flying over our mountains, wetlands, forests, and cities, waving at us from the distance. They're coloring the treetops and everything above to remind us that there are over 1,920 species to admire. And they're preparing for that moment when you'll be able to come back in awe to the country that is home to nearly 20% of the world's bird biodiversity, as well as more than 80 endemic species, and that has led the global Big Day competition for 4 years in a row, registering 1,574 species sightings in 2019 alone, and achieving the first place once more in 2020's virtual edition. We'll meet again soon to keep on enjoying together the diversity of our bird species, in renewed destinations with sustainable and biosafe experiences that guarantee your well-being.
Now is the time to take care of yourself, to take care of those dear to you, to take care of everyone else. Stay at home. Read that book, binge that series, or finish that project you started. Soon we will meet again. Soon our rhythm will move you the way it always has, and you'll see our landscapes like never before. Soon we'll welcome you once more. Let's take care now so we can meet again soon.
Today, all we wish for is to meet once more. Just like pauses in music are a key part of the melody. The rhythm of Colombia and our destinations are taking a break, so that you may find them renewed. confident that they've taken the best of care and that you'll enjoy them like never before. Because the one thing you can definitely count on is that you'll meet once more with our unshakable rhythm, with our joyful warmth. We'll meet again, soon.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this first Acome and LAUGHH Foundation Academy updates. My name is Juan Pablo Maldonado. I'm the director of this event. I'm a medical student from Colombia. I've been part of the LAUGHH Foundation medical mission for 4 years now. I'm a member of Acome, and I will be joining you as your host tonight. To begin, I want to mention our patrons that are making this incredible event possible. Geo Asesores, AMSA, American Medical Students Association, Intermetro in Puerto Rico, Congreso Expedientes Médicos, Students Network Organization, Elsevier, Editorial Médica Panamericana, Kaplan Medical, Cardio EKG, Grupo CTO, Felsocen, and Johns Hopkins University. Thank you so much for supporting the globalization of medicine in Colombia, Latin America, and all around the world. We would like to remind you the steps to obtain certification. So first, you must be registered. And at the end of every day, our team will enable the attendance form that is going to be open for an hour. It includes a keyword section that will be displayed on the screen during conferences. Finally, you must have attended at least to 7 of the 9 days to get your certificate. And that's it. Remember, this is the 5th day of conferences. This week, we will have a wonderful opportunity to be closer and talk about social medicine. We will have those talks in many times. We do not have that in our careers, but that's necessary to help us develop as professionals. Today, we will have 2 speakers who will talk from different perspectives on organization of medical missions. And at the end of both talks, we will have a question panel for both of them. So first, please welcome Gisella Alvarez with her conference titled How to Organize an International Medical Mission. Gisella Alvarez is a medical surgical nurse at Mercy Medical Center. She received her bachelor degree in nursing from the University of Maryland, and she is certified in medical surgical nursing by the American Nurses Credentialing Center. She is the lead charge nurse of the medical post-surgical special unit at Mercy Medical Center, and she is the clinical coordinator of the LAUGHH Foundation. Welcome, Gisella Alvarez. It's an honor having you here tonight.
Here, I'm thrilled to be here and part of this wonderful project you guys came up with. So I have been doing missions for a long time, since 1998. I have been to countries to Colombia, Peru, Ethiopia, Sierra Leone. So like Juan Pablo said, I am currently the clinical coordinator for the LAUGHH Foundation, the medical mission that we do in Colombia. And I'm also the clinical coordinator for the surgical mission of another organization called Global Health Volunteers. So throughout the conversation today, you're going to hear me referring to Colombia medical mission and then Peru surgical mission. So with that in mind, medical missions are all unique. Every single one that you go to, if you get to go into any of them, they're very unique. I have been part of well-organized missions, but I also been part of missions that were not so well-organized. So what you're about to see is a bit of the experience I've gotten throughout 20-some years of leading medical missions and surgical missions. So the way I'm going to do this talk today, we're going to do 4 subjects. We're going to do mission principles, and then we're going to talk about the 7 sins of humanitarian medicine. Then we're going to talk about World Health Organization standards. And then finally, we're going to go how to organize a mission. So let's get started. So mission principles. So the first one is you always want to be part of an existing organization. You want to be part of an organization that is reputable. So you have to do kind of your homework. Again, you're going to hear me saying homework, doing your homework a little bit throughout the presentation, because you want to look and see, like I said, reputable, and just find out more about them. What do they do? Have they had any issues? That sort of thing before you start doing, if you want to do a mission. You always want to make sure that you are sure of your mission goals. You want to make sure that you know what is it that you're going to do in the mission. Is this going to be an education mission? Is it going to be a medical mission? Is it going to be a surgical mission? There's many, many missions out there on many subjects. So you want to have that clear. Then if you decide to go on a medical mission or a surgical mission, then you want to make sure that you're always taking the supplies that you need, because you never want to do this fourth principle, which is assume anything. You do not want to assume anything whenever you go on a mission. You don't want to go to a mission and say, they probably have that. Oh, I'm sure they have that. That is going to be your biggest mistake if you go with that mentality, because sure enough, you're going to get to your destination and you'll find out that, no, they don't have that. And no, you don't have a way to get it. And no, they don't do things the way you thought they had them to do them. So, all right, so now let's talk about 7 Sins of Humanitarian Medicines. These were by Dr. David Willing. And these are something that you need to definitely stay away, because they are sins for sure. So first one is going where you're not wanted or needed or being a poor guest. So you want to make sure that you know that you have been asked to go there, that you're not just taking your bags and just going in without any plan. You need to make sure you have local authorities or local community leaders in, service, and that there's somebody's going to be there to help you with that. You also want to make sure that you know local customs. You want to make sure that you're not going to be a poor guest and you're not going to go with the mentality, this is how we do it in the United States, so that's going to be the best way. That's the wrong way to go about that. Doing the right thing for the wrong reason. So you want to make sure that you are not doing this because it's going to look good in your resume. That is just because it's going to be, different vacations. So you're going to have that as something that you can put in your CV. So when we talk about leaving a mess behind, complications, you want to make sure that you're going to be doing, if it's a surgical mission, you want to make sure that you do cases that are being able to do safely, that you're not going to have problems. And if you have complications, you need to have a plan, what you're going to do if you have a complication for this or the other. Your number 4 is failing to match technology to local needs of abilities. You don't want to go and take this fancy equipment to a third world country that they're not going to be able to either keep or work with. So that's just basically a cruel joke. So you want to work with the stuff that they have. Failing to cooperate with other organizations and local colleagues and authorities, you want to make sure that you work with someone. Like I said before, it goes with number 1 is working with community leaders or somebody that is going to help you organize things. You cannot just do this on your own. Number 6, failing to follow up a plan or medical transfer in case unforeseen circumstances. The medical transfers, like I said, if you have a complication, you need to have a plan. But also when it comes to follow-up plan, you don't want to go to different countries every year or every month to do this. You want to have something. You want to build relationships. You want to start programs. So something that is going to really make a difference in the country. If you go to a surgical mission, it's good if you go to the same town so you can help the same people and, again, build relationships with the locals. If you're being distracted by politics or training or other issues in the delivery of care, are you more interested on the photo op and taking pictures with your flag and writing reports of what the mission was about so you can just brag about what you did? So those are 7 sins of humanitarian medicine that you need to stay away from. Now, so what do you want to do about World Health Organization standards? So this is just something is basic. You need to follow this when you do any kind of mission, medical or surgical mission. So first of all, you need to follow up. If it's a surgical mission, you need to have like a surgical checklist. You know, what happens when before anesthesia is done, what happens before the incision is done, and then what happens before the patient actually leaves the OR suite. So it's the same standards that we have here in the United States. The World Health Organization, you need to follow those throughout. That's very important. Needless to say, nowadays, you've learned so much about hand washing and how much to prevent. So this is also a basic standard that you need to follow, especially now that we are experiencing this terrible pandemic. Licensing for all the staff that is going, for all the practitioners. So every country has different prerequisites or things that we need to do. So that needs to be, you need to check that with the country. What are the requirements for each practitioner? In United States, we have 2 roles that are not observed in other countries. So it is the role, well, you have the doctor, but then you also have a role here of the physician assistant, and you also have a role of a nurse practitioner. These 2 roles can work independently here in the United States, somewhere independent. But if you go to another country, for instance, if you go to Colombia, if you go to Peru, these 2 roles are not recognized there. So these 2 people could not work independently and seeing patients on their own. You would have to have them pair up with another doctor so they can work together, but they cannot be independent. And obviously, you need to have medicine or surgery. You need to have proper documentation of what was done to the patient with all the information that you need, allergies, medications, history, what was the diagnosis that was found, what medications were recommended or given to the patient. Now, when it comes to donations, the World Health Organization also has standards for this, and they need to be followed. So, for instance, medications. Every country has a different rule for what the expirations, for the entrance of medications. So, for instance, in Colombia, the medications have to be 6 months from the time of the mission that need to expire. So 6 months of that. They also, every single vial or every single medication needs to be labeled with something that says donation. You also want to take medications that are not the latest in the care of anything, because they're never going to be able to find that there. You want to take generic medications that have always been around and that the people can find them in their country. If you're going to give donations of equipment, this is important. It has to be equipment that is not more than 5 years old, definitely not more than 10 years old. Every country, again, has different regulations. You have to check those. You also make sure that it have manuals and that sort of thing before you physically take them there, because if they're not able to enter, customs may not be able to enter and then they just stay there and basically in the trash. And then here is the big one, which is the electricity. So in the United States, we have electricity, which is 110. And then, for instance, in Peru, for the surgical mission that I lead, is 220. So we have taken equipment, and then you have to think, okay, it's 110, and then Peru is 220. So we have to think about transformers. And do we need to buy the transformers here and send them over in the container? Can we buy them over there? So it's important because we have lost a lot of equipment because someone did not look at the way we had things labeled and connected into the wrong. In the 110, they connected into the 220, and there was the equipment no more. If you are thinking about taking glucometers, for instance, on a medical mission, you want to also, again, do your homework. If you want to take them just to use them while you're there and then bring them back, you can take whatever you want. But if you're thinking about taking a glucometer and just donate it to the people there, then you have to find out, okay, do they have this glucometer? Can they get the strips? So if you're taking something fancy and you take it there and you can give it as a donation, they're not going to be able to do anything with it once the strips are finished. So again, your homework. Now, for blood pressure cuffs, for instance, if it's a medical mission or surgical mission, again, this is a digital blood pressure cuff. If you're thinking about just taking it and using it and bringing it back, fine. But if you're going to leave it as a donation, then think about the fact that they need batteries. And when it comes to batteries, they're expensive here in the United States, and they're triple expensive in third world countries for sure. So those are the things you have to think about when you're looking at donations. Now, when it comes to the organization of the mission, I'm going to talk about it on 3 steps. The mission preparation, basically as if I was here in the United States, organizing everything. Then the actual mission when we are in the country itself, and then after the mission. So first of all, you want to get a location where, first of all, there is no travel advisory. So like there is issues or any unrest or anything like that. And also you want to choose a place where you actually have some sort of connection with the community. Do you have a authority that is willing to be the person to help you organize everything? Now, all these missions are all volunteer. So no one pays you to go into any of these missions. You actually have to give, paid to actually go to the mission. So you want to get a cost for the volunteers before you start getting volunteers to the mission itself. How much is airfare going to be? What are the meals? Are we going to have to pay for meals? Any trouble inside of the country that we're going to have to deal with? Lodging as the hotels, or how is it going to be? Or do you have to buy any supplies as donations also as part of being a team member? Forming your team. So when it comes to forming your team, it's something that you want to do, like get a spreadsheet or something like that. You want to have specific roles. So if it's a medical mission, you want to have your general practitioners. How many do you want to take? GYN, how many do you want to take? How many pediatricians you want to take? If you want to take an education team, how many are you going to take? How many volunteers you're going to need? How many interpreters you're going to need? You want to make that spreadsheet so you can just plug in your volunteers. The 2 organizations that I work with, we do a formal application process for the volunteers. So it's not like anybody can just call and say, okay, I want to participate, and yes, sure, we put your name down. Now there is an actual application where it's actually, name and why they're going to do this mission, and have they had any of their experiences. We actually speak to the volunteers and make sure that it is a good fit for the group that is going to be going. And another thing is you definitely want to talk about what is the minimum age that your organization is allowing people. I've been to missions where they allow small children. Myself, I found that as a challenge. So that's something that, again, you have to make sure that you discuss it, or that you're know well in advance if you're thinking about taking somebody. Again, connecting with the local coordinators is somebody, the in-country partner. So the person here in the United States, and then you want to have the person in the country who is going to help organize the mission, that part, the in-country portion, some logistics and stuff that need to be done. You also are going to need a lot of volunteers, not only the volunteers that are coming from the United States, but you're also going to need a lot of volunteers in the country. Either people that are going to act like runners, meaning people that will take patients from point A to point B, or doing other different stuff. Are you going to need interpreters? Are you going to need any other staff, like more nurses, or it depends. So those are the kind of things that you need to put into your equation. What institutional support do you have? So are you going to be doing this in a hospital? Are you going to do this in a health center? Are you going to do this in a school? So it depends. If you're talking about a surgical mission, are you doing it at a hospital? So does it need, you need to find out if it's going to fit the amount of cases that you're going to do. So everything is planned very carefully. For our medical mission in Colombia, we actually like schools just because they're bigger. There's more space. Because our volunteers is a lot of us, so we want the space, and they actually work very well we do hospitals, it actually interferes with the routine of the hospital, so we like to stay away from hospitals. The community needs assessment. This is important because you're talking, if it's a medical mission, you want to find out, because if you're going to go to 3 different towns, for instance, you want to find out, okay, what are the top 3 diagnoses that you see in your town? So hypertension, diabetes, that sort of thing. So you know exactly, not only make sure that you have the practitioners that can do this, but also what medications you're going to take on the mission itself. If it's a surgical mission, then you want to find out what are the problems that are that have the most need at this point. So you're talking about, is it usually it's general surgery, or is it gynecological problems, or is it plastic surgery that people, the children with cleft palates or lips, stuff like that. What available resources do you have in the country itself? Things that if you cannot take them into United States, from the United States over there. So available resources, for instance, medicine in the medical team. Are there wheelchairs that you can buy? Are there walkers? Are there canes? Can you hire somebody to do prescription glasses? If you're talking about surgery, you want to find out what the hospital looks like, how many OR suites they have, how many OR suites you can count with, what kind of sterilization techniques they use. Is it gas? Is it steam? That sort of thing. That way, that's going to change, or it's going to, you have to adapt to what the resources are over there. What donations needed? Again, following the World Health Organization, every volunteer is going to be asked to get donations because, like I said, all this is volunteer and everything we live with donations. So either see if they need multivitamins, if they need toothbrushes, do they need to try to get medications from their hospitals that they work at, or if it's monetary donations that they need. This is going back to that licensing portion. So this actually takes a long time, and it could take probably 4 months just to get the licensing of the people going, the practitioners. Because in Colombia, for instance, and in Peru, actually the same, we have to deal with the School of Medicine, the School of Nurses, and the School of Pharmacy. So they all have the requirements, and we have to follow them, and they all will. Every year something changes, so it's always a very interesting process to do, but that's why it takes so long. That's the country that you go in. Does it require any community protection insurance? For instance, in Colombia, that is one thing that Colombia requires, is that we obtain an insurance that is good for a year, that it covers for any complications from the time we do the mission for another year. So that's something that needs to be obtained if your country requires that. Closer to the trip, you want to prepare your team. Once you have selected your team and you have your USA team, you want to prepare your team. You want to let them know what kind of things, how long are the days are going to be like, any customs that they need to be aware of, any food that is going to be different. You want to give them a little what to take, what not to take, that sort of thing. Just kind of a general preparation. So once they applied and then they get the details, then they're like, okay, yes, I definitely for sure want to go. And then this is where people already, we haven't had anybody to change their mind at the last minute. You also want to make sure that you have an emergency contact information of everybody in the team, just to make sure you have it just in case you need it for some reason. Right before you leave, right before the team actually leaves the country from USA to the place that we're going, you need to make sure that you communicate with the team itineraries, where the different states that people are living from. You want to make a suggestion for people either to wear the same shirt or use something that is going to identify them in the airport, so they can recognize each other. Like a lot of these people, even though you've had that meeting before, a lot of them, they don't know each other, so they can start and they can see. So there's easier and a peace of mind that way they can travel together. So now let's just talk about the mission time. You are actually in country. You came in, you have everything that you need, and you're in the country itself. So this in-country meeting with your community leaders, let's just say you're doing a medical mission and you're going to 3 different towns. So you want to meet with those 3 different community leaders, in addition to the person that is the person that is helping us organize the whole thing, just to make sure that there is nothing that we're missing, that make sure that everybody's ready so we can actually start the mission without any hiccups. The in-country orientation for the entire mission team. So like I said before, we'll have the USA team, and then you have, I'm going to use the Colombia team as the example. Then you have the Colombia team. You want to meet together. You want to meet them because this is not just about what you're going to help people, that the medications you're going to give or the stuff that you're going to give, but it is also about the integration of the 2 cultures, what you're going to learn from each other. This is not just a one thing. We get a lot of people that come back from the mission saying that they feel like they got more from the actual mission, from what they did, than actually the people that actually was helped, all the different patients. You want to share the organization policies and expectations. So for instance, policies, let's just say, for surgery, let's just say you are not going to do cases that are for children that are less than a year old. That's what we do in Peru. For the medical team, you can say that you're not going to see children that do not come with an adult. So those are the kind of things. And then expectations. You want to make sure that the team know that what the expectation is as a volunteer of the organization. Even though everybody is an adult, you still need to make sure that they're aware that they're representing the organization itself. So anything that goes well or goes bad reflects on the organization. Then you want to share the blueprint of the clinic organization and flow. So then you really want to go down with more details here about how the day exactly is going to look like. We need to be ready at this time. Who's picking you? Buses are going to be ready at this point. The clinic is going to be from 7 a.m. until hopefully 4 p.m. All the details, who's going to give us food, if we need to get food, that sort of thing. So you want more detail on how the actual clinic map is going to look like. You want to set some realistic goals. Everybody wants to help, but if you don't do realistic goals, you're not going to be very successful. So I'm going to use an example on the medical team. For instance, you want to say, okay, the practitioners, the medical doctors are going to see, let's say 25, 30 patients per day. No more. So you just give out tickets for that. And when a surgical team, you want to say, okay, we're not going to do more than, say, 6, 7 cases a day of this particular specialty. Everything has to do with what is feasibly and safely feasible to do, because it's not just about the numbers, which is one of those sins that some organizations get into. They put more interest in the actual numbers and not the safe of what is being done. It never fails that because for people leaving USA, going into a third world country, somebody's going to get sick for sure, just because of the change of food or change whatever. And also you're in a big group. Somebody gets sick, then somebody else is going to get sick. You always want to make sure you identify that doctor. So the team members are encouraged to go to the doctor if they feel that they're sick. You do not want to encourage people self-medicating to avoid problems. At the end of a clinic day, you want to make sure that you have feedback. You want to have feedback and address the issues. If something is, if everybody was working that day and it's just say, okay, this didn't quite work today, what can we do about it? And then address the issues that need to be done so the next day things will run better. It's not all about work, because everybody works for a very long time, for very long hours, and it's very exhausting to be in missions like this. So you always want to make sure that you plan a day off for your team members. something that is going to allow them to completely relax, completely not do anything that has to do with work, get more integrated with your team members still, and then recharge your battery to continue with the next few days that you have of the mission. And then what happens after the mission? This is after you left the country and you went back into the United States. So you want to get feedback from all the volunteers from USA or volunteers from the country that you visited just after the mission. So you can make changes from anything that has been suggested if it's feasible. I have been leading, like I said, missions for 20 some years, and there hasn't been one year that someone has not made a suggestion where we said, okay, you know, this is good, we can improve it by making this change. So every year we think that we get things more organized to get to that perfect place. So, but anyway, so this is the end of my presentation. I will entertain any questions at the end of Dr. Camilo when he's finished with the presentation, and we'll be happy to answer those. Again, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Gisella, so much for your presentation. So, as I say, the questions are going to be answered in a panel at the end. So next we will have Dr. Camilo Alvarez.
Muchas dudas sobre el MIR las despejamos en menos de un minuto. Es una convocatoria anual oficial para acceder a la formación especializada en España. Hasta el momento se ha realizado el último fin de semana de enero, pero con el COVID... quién sabe si lo atrasarán o no. Por ahora no hay más información. Consta de 175 preguntas con 4 opciones de respuesta, siendo una única la verdadera. La mayoría casos clínicos y algunas de ellas asociadas a imágenes. Si acierto, tengo un punto. Si fallo, me quitan un tercio. Y si la dejo en blanco, ni me suma ni me resta. Eso me va a dar el 90% de una nota final. El otro 10% lo aportas con tu expediente académico. Requisitos. Inscribirte. Normalmente lo haces en el mes de septiembre. Y tener el título de medicina homologado. Dicho trámite demora más de 12 meses. Así que, si tu meta es el MIR, ¿a qué estás esperando? Ah, y se me olvidaba, mientras que te formas como residente vas a recibir un pago mensual por ello. Pero eso ya para el siguiente vídeo de menos de un minuto.
So now it's time to continue with the second speaker, Dr. Camilo Arenas. Dr. Arenas is a graduate physician from the Universidad Industrial de Santander at Bucaramanga, Colombia. He is an alumni member of Acome, and he has been part of the LAUGHH Foundation Medical Mission since 2015. So welcome, Dr. Arenas.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Juan Pablo. How are you?
I'm great, thank you. How are you?
So, hello, everybody. My name is Camilo Arenas. I am a physician from Colombia that has participated in several medical missions as a volunteer when I was a medical student and now as an organizer. So, this experience allows me to give you some point of view from the perspective of a volunteer and from the perspective of an organizer of a medical mission. Gisella just explained you in a masterful way the things that you can never forget when you are organizing a medical mission. So I am going to center the attention on some other important aspects that you have to take into account. So let's begin. It's important to start this presentation saying that almost 2/3 of matriculating medical students expect to participate in a medical mission during medical school. This is a very interesting fact, and the natural next question is to ask how many medical students actually participate in a medical mission during a medical training. I could not find this number, which has to vary between each country and between each medical school, but I can assure you that in general is not more than 10-20%. Some questions arise with these numbers because you should ask, it is because they really never had the opportunity? Was it because lack of time? Or was it because they forgot that some of them studied medicine because they wanted to help the most needed? I am not going to get deep in this fact, but I know that a lot of medical students are watching this, and it's a question I would like you to ask for yourselves. So let's get into the topic. This presentation is about how to organize an international medical mission, but I would like to start talking about why to organize one. This interesting perspective is from a great talk that is called How Great Leaders Inspire Action by Simon Sinek. It's on YouTube and I highly recommend it. Simon says something that is very important. He states that there are 3 big questions that we have to ask and respond appropriately when we are doing any project. Those questions are why, how, and what, in this order and not backwards. The problem is that a lot of people, companies, and foundations begin asking and responding the what. So let's analyze this approach and why it's not the best way when you are thinking in organizing a medical mission. First question, what are we going to do? Easy, a medical mission. How are we going to do it? Let's find some funds, let's give some medicines, let's bring some doctors, nurses, let's give some glasses and some vitamins. And finally, why are we going to do it? Well, because we can and we think it's kind and it's possible. What's the problem with this approach? As you can see, this perspective is not inspiring at all. Simon argues that the central core, the most important question to answer and ask ourselves is why. And the why has to talk about your purpose, your cause, and your belief. So let's do it again with the why perspective. The guarantee of good health is one of the main determinants for an individual and their environment to prosper. We can help to close that gap of inequity in access to health for some populations, providing health teams with high resolution capacity, delivering education, visual aids, medicines, and vitamins during a medical missions. That's the philosophy of LAUGHH and Acome. That's the reasons I work with them. Can you see the difference? So don't be a what person, because a what person is just centered in his or her own actions, trying to show others what they are doing, but not why. It's very important to show actions in order to inspire more people, but it's important that these actions come from honest motivations and serious preparation. This brings me to the next slide that is about the volunteer tourism or volunteerism, a relatively new expression to name some volunteer activities that are currently being carried out in different countries and that are offered by different travel or tourism agencies, but could also apply when you participate in an international medical mission. The question is, are you traveling for the purpose of volunteering, or are you volunteer for the purpose of traveling? You have to think well on this, because some of international activities can inadvertently perpetuate patronizing and unhelpful ideas about the places they visit. Don't misunderstand me. I am not saying that travel and enjoy the place you visit when you are participating in a mission is forbidden. I'm not saying that it's bad to take photos of the actions you are doing. I try to say the opposite. It's very important to take pictures and show the world in order to inspire others. But you have to think about these experiences as cultural exchanges meant to generate knowledge and respect about other ways of being, and not as trips that help the poor. It's important when you are organizing a medical mission that the volunteers share the values of the organization, as Gisela told you, because superficial engagement for volunteers in poorly planned projects are going to do more harm than good. You have to think about long-term partnership, justice, and structural change. For example, in LAUGHH mission, we use local medical students and local political institutions in order to generate that engagement with the project. Remember that everything we do for ourselves, but that doesn't mean that they are selfish actions. What do I mean with this phrase? Is that in the end, we are participating in a medical mission locally or internationally because we think it's going to feel great. And again, this is not wrong, but it's important to not forget that we are going to do some actions that could generate amazing things in the community if we do it in an appropriate way. But if we do it in the wrong way, we are going to do harm. A lot of papers in scientific journals has tried to address if short-term medical missions are really useful for the communities. Most of them agree that it's very difficult to address the real impact because, in general, medical missions are more worried about how to help than recollecting data. This is problematic because, of course, you want to think that all medical missions always help. But the truth is that a lot of medical missions around the world are not doing it in the correct way. So some of them have ethical considerations, especially because of the lack of properly preparation. That's the reason I wanted to bring this slide that has the 4 core principles to guide the ethical development of educational medical missions. The first one is skills building in cross-cultural effectiveness and cultural humility. That means, as I told you before, that these experiences are cultural exchanges meant to generate knowledge and respect about other ways of being. Second, the bidirectional participatory relationships, for example, receiving opinions from the local community since the conception of the mission. Third one, the long-term sustainability. Try not to do a one-time mission. As again, Gisela told you, it is amazing when you generate trust in the community and you can return in several times. And fourth one, capacity building in local community. As the LAUGHH mission, as for example, the LAUGHH mission is working with some communities in my country, teaching elementary school children to build greenhouses and harvest healthy foods. The other important thing to consider about the outcomes or the impact of medical missions is that some of the outcomes are very difficult to measure, but that doesn't mean that they don't exist. For saying some examples, the insight of the participants about health inequities, the behaviors that change in providers or the students after understanding the social determinants of health from firsthand, and indirect outcomes, academic or not, as this Congress, or future unrelated missions made with the knowledge acquired. So at the end, I just want to remember that this principle of medicine: minimize harm and maximize benefits for all involved, because medical missions are spectacular experiences, and I highly recommend you to participate in well-prepared medical missions. But always remembering everything Gisela has told you and these things that I just told you, that it's important to do it in a good way, because in other way you are going to do harm, and it's not what we are looking for. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Camilo Arenas. So now we're going to have the panel. While our team is selecting the questions on behalf of Acome and the LAUGHH Foundation, we want to thank our participants. We have almost 1,500 people from all over the world, American countries such as Colombia, USA, Ecuador, Brazil, Venezuela, Bolivia, Guatemala, Mexico, and Cuba, but also people from Spain, Burundi, Ghana, Kazakhstan, Nepal, Nigeria, Egypt, Sudan, and India that are making an incredible effort with their local time. So now we are going to have our question panel. And here's our first question. Is from Juliana Camargo. Gisella, what factors do you take into account beyond cost to decide if it's more feasible to bring the equipment from the US or buy in the country of the mission?
That's a good question. So really, we get a lot of donations here. And I'm going to talk about Peru because this will be more like equipment that we take to Peru. We actually, in the organization that I work with, we actually send a container every year in July, which it goes filled with donations, those OR tables, all kinds of stuff. So the way the things work around here, we get a lot of donations, so it's easier. It is really cost prohibitive to even think about getting any of this equipment that are needed, just basic equipment that is needed in the countries that we visit, unless they have the support of their own government. So we have to do what is the best, how we can help them. And that the best way is we get the donations here, and we just take them in a container to the country that we're going to. That's for that Peru. That's the one specific one. So.
Gisela, do you use community needs assessments from local government or health system, or do you have your own team for community assessment?
No, so all the community assessment is done by the actual community itself. So what we do for the medical mission with the LAUGHH Foundation is we actually, the founder, Francis Storner, which you'll hear tomorrow, the two of us go on a pre-trip on, let's just say January. Our mission is in June. And we actually go to the towns that we're going to visit, and we meet with the community leaders. And those include the hospital directors, the Secretary of Health, or anybody that has the knowledge of what the community is going to need. So that is all that input we get. It is from the community itself that we're going to serve.
Dr. Alvarez, can you tell us your experience in the last mission you lead or you participated? Our future mission plans?
So, like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been going to Peru, leading the surgical team for 20 some years, and the medical mission to Colombia for the past 10 years or so. Every mission, like I said, is unique, even though it's the same concept. There is always, they're always different. I am very upset about this year because due to the pandemic, all our missions had to be canceled. So we're not going to be able to do that. This is going to be the first October that I'm going to be in the United States for the past 20 some years. I've never been here in October because we're usually in Peru working. So I am looking forward to hopefully go back to Colombia in June of 2021, hopefully, and then in Peru again in October 2021.
I think this is a question both of you can answer. How to act properly when something goes wrong during the medical mission? So first Gisela and then Dr. Arenas.
So there are so many things that can go wrong, even though if you plan as much as you can, there is, things that still go wrong. So it could be from a team member that is acting out and probably shouldn't be part of the team again. So those are something that that you would have to deal with. Fortunately, I've only had that maybe 4 times in my entire volunteer career of leading teams. So that actually included a surgeon. So things like that can happen. But again, you just need to do the best. Always, if you're in the country, you just need to do what is the best approach to make that the situation either resolves itself or that is going to stop, just so, because ultimately the goal is to help the people that you went there to help, and then you have to adjust however you have to do that. And then there is complications. We've had in the surgical mission, we've had complications, but you have that plan B. We're in a very small town in Peru, in a town called Chulucanas. And when we do have complications, we never get into cases that are not going to be safely done. So, but once in a while, we do have a complication. We have to transfer a patient to the bigger hospital, which is an hour away. So we always need to make sure that first we have the ambulance ready in case something happens, that there's actually a driver for the ambulance, and that we have that other hospital that is going to be able to receive our patients. But all that is pre-planned. You always want to have that plan B for complications like that.
Yeah, I would say that every mission is a team building experience, as we have experience at the beginning of the mission. The team is a little bit uncomfortable because they don't know each other. It's more difficult to say maybe the little issues that comes with the mission. So I think in order to reduce the probability of mistakes or something going wrong, the first thing is having a very good communication since the beginning. As a leader of some medical missions, I always have told my team, if you detect a mistake, if you detect that something is going wrong, first think for yourself a solution before telling me. Because if you, before telling me, are going to think in a possible solution, maybe you can resolve for yourself, and you are not going to bring me some issues that maybe are little issues, or not big ones. So it's very important that everybody in the team think about solutions, and not all the responsibility is a burden of one just person. No.
Thank you so much. How do you recommend handle the emotions that can be generated during the medical missions?
Medical missions are a life-changing experience for sure. I can tell you about myself when I go on medical missions, even though I've been doing it for so long. To me, it's a grounding. It just grounds me. It makes me appreciate what I have just when we go and help other people. I have seen people completely break down when we are in country and just seeing the different things that they see. And that's one of the things that we actually talk about as a group, is always to be available to talk to each other on how did this affect you. And because people come back from these missions different, and sometimes you have difficulty readjusting to the norm, to your everyday job. So we always say, don't hesitate to reach out if you're having difficulty, because there are some missions that can really take a toll on people's perspective and once they get back to the real life.
Yeah, I would say that I have cried, I have laughed, I have had all the feelings you can have in a week of medical mission. So it's not a thing of handle the emotions. I would say it's more a thing of understanding your role in that situation, understanding also that are a lot of things that you are not going to be able to change and accept some of them.
Right.
But if you think that some of the situations or some of the troubles that the community has, maybe you can have a solution at long term, it would be amazing. But having the feet on the ground is very important, and understanding that you are not going to be a superhero and you are not going to solve all the problems that the community have. You are going to put your grain of sand, as we say in Colombia, but yeah, you have to understand that you are not a superhero.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. This is a question from Oscar Riaño. How do you think we can expand the impact of the mission in Colombia?
I am absolutely in love with the Acome kids. I love them. I love you guys. You guys are amazing. The mission that we do in Colombia has gotten so much better because of your input, your participation. Our founder is very much a believer on education, and thanks to her and thanks to your input and your participation, things have gotten so much better. We're teaching, we're changing lives in Colombia because we're teaching our patients on how to make changes in their lives. In addition to that, look at what you guys are doing right now with this incredible conference that is reaching so many people, and hopefully is going to make better doctors everywhere.
I would answer with one just word: inspiring. I would say that is the most important thing. How we can expand the impact of the mission in Colombia, I would say in the world, well, easy, inspiring the new generations, the medical students, the doctors that already graduate, because when you inspire the others, these little actions become big, and these little actions replicate in different parts. Yeah, as I say in my presentation, some of the outcomes of the mission are not going to be you are not going to be able to measure, because it's just you just need one inspired per person to go outside and do a great thing.
This is for Dr. Arenas. Do you do any assessment of impact of medical missions into students' professionals development?
Well, in a very academic way, we haven't. As we when I was actual part of Acome, when I was the president of Acome in Santander, we talk about this a lot, and we talk about the what impact the mission has in all the members. So it will be very interesting, and it's an amazing idea. It's one of the things that, as I told you, we maybe don't worry about collect, and we should, because when you have this data, maybe those papers that say that medical missions are not worthy, they will understand that medical missions are doesn't end when the day of the mission ends.
True.
Thank you. This is a question from Nadia de Huitragos. Something that has been matter of discussions are photos in medical missions. What is your advice regarding social media and patients?
That's actually quite simple. Anybody that knows me, they know that I don't do social media. So, but one of the things that we do is from the get-go, we tell the volunteers that there is no pictures, nothing is posted, nothing that has to do with a patient, because you're representing the organization. And anytime you're going to take a picture of a patient, you need to get the consent of that patient, that they actually say, yes, you can take my picture. But nothing, no patient pictures are posted into any social media.
Yes, verbal consent is the first step. It's amazing when you can also have written consent, especially if some of the participants want to publish in a journal, maybe a case or something very important. But yeah, as I told you, it's important to show pictures of the mission, because that's one of the ways you can inspire some people around the world. But you have to be very careful, and you have to have the rules very clearly since the beginning.
Yeah.
How can we make a bigger and lasting impact on populations in the medical missions can visit some areas once in a while? What strategies do you use?
Okay, so I think that if you are going to do, let's see, you said you can visit some areas once in a while. Okay, but is the actual visit, when you do it, what is it that you're doing there? If you're educating the people about certain disease or something, and the patient is actually able to make changes, then it doesn't matter if you don't come back in 6 months or next year. You have left that little sand there that is going to help. You're going to help them with their education. So you always have to make sure that you do a mission that you're going to leave some sort of impact that is going to last. It's not just a hello, back pain, Tylenol, and goodbye.
Exactly. I would say that the most important thing, if you think that it's a mission that is not going to be repeated in a while, maybe you are going to have to think more in how to give education, give something that lasts for more time. That's just giving some meds, some painkillers, it's more important. So maybe for some people, yeah, and it's cheaper also. So it's not a thing about money. If you want to do education, you just need good prepared people, a very good prepared speech, and maybe some visual aids. But it's actually cheaper to give education than to go and bring some pills that maybe are not going to help anybody.
Thank you so much. What qualities do you think a person need to be part of a mission?
Well, not everybody's mission material, for sure. So that's why I encourage everybody to make sure that there is, you have some sort of formal application participation, that you actually speak to the person to see if this is really going to be a good fit for the mission. So what qualities? Somebody open-minded, somebody that wants to do something well, somebody that is going to be able to adjust to the different situations that you're going to be, but because everybody's going to be out of their comfort level. So if you have somebody that is so strict on how they do things, and they're going to fall apart if they don't have the same routines or the same supplies, that's going to be a person that is not going to be mission material for sure.
Yes, it's very important, the qualities of the persons, it's also very important the skills of the people that you are going to bring, because you don't want, for example, bring an interpreter that is not going to help really. He or she can have a big heart, could be the most kind the person in the world, but if they don't have the skills that you are needing, it's also a thing that you have to consider. But qualities, it's open-minded, people that are just very easy to change in situations, people that know that there is not going to be a comfortable week or month or whatever, and just be nice. Just have people that are nice.
Okay, and this is our last question from Diana Borges. Congratulations, both of you, for this incredible topic. My question is for Dr. Arenas. How medical mission has had influenced your medical practice? Loving you from Bogota.
Thank you, Diana. Well, medical missions has had a big influence in my medical practice, because when you are in that little bubble that is in your just medical practice, in your medical education, in your university, that tiny bubble that doesn't let you see how people live in your own country, makes you sometimes lose the transference you have with the patient, because maybe you cannot understand how people don't maybe are not complain to the medicines, or are not complain to the treatments. But when you go to those missions and you actually know the people that you are seeing every day at the hospital, you understand why they get sick, and you understand why they also get better sometimes. So it's for a medical practice, is, I would say, it's amazing, because gives you a lot of tools to impact in those people, in those person that you know that maybe have some difficulties accessing help. So you are always going to do your best for them. Yeah, it's a life-changing experience, and I would say it's very important for medical education.
Well, thank you so much. That was the last question. So I really want to thank you for this rewarding topic and these rewarding talks that you made today. So thank you so much, and thank you for being part of this.
Thank you so much for having us. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Hola, soy Saura Gallego Ojeda, directora ejecutiva de Asesores Gallego Ojeda. Somos una empresa dedicada a la homologación de títulos universitarios, con sede principal en España. Nacimos por la creencia de que todos los profesionales se sienten orgullosos de su profesión y la enaltecen día a día con cada uno de sus actos. Por eso, creemos que si cada profesional quiere crecer, tanto académica como profesionalmente, debe tener la posibilidad de ser. En Asesores Gallego Ojeda abrimos la puerta a todos los profesionales que quieran dar un paso adelante, que quieran crecer, que quieran vivir, que quieran explorar. Nosotros tenemos las herramientas para que todo eso sea posible. Nosotros nos acomodamos a las necesidades y los retos que nuestros profesionales nos imponen. Nosotros te demostramos que sí es posible.
Hola, soy Uriel Juanes, gerente de Asesores Gallego Ojeda. Homologar tu título es muy sencillo y te lo voy a explicar en 3 cómodos pasos. Primero, obviamente, contáctanos a nosotros. Segundo, documentos necesarios. Debes saber que somos una empresa pro medio ambiente y todos los documentos van a ser digitalizados. Documentos que tienes que aportar: pasaporte, calificaciones y diplomas. y, en caso de que sea necesario, certificados laborales y pensum académico. Y tercer paso, haz tus maletas y espera nuestra notificación de que ya tienes tu credencial de homologación.
Es fácil, sencillo. Asesores Gallego Ojeda, tu mano amiga.
We want to give a special recognition to our organization team members of LAUGHH Foundation and Acome that work together every year to provide medical care and education to people living in small towns with low incomes in Santander, Colombia. This year, overcoming the SARS-CoV pandemic, we have decided to keep going with education and training to medical students and physicians around the world. So thank you so much. Here concludes our 5th day of conferences. Thank you so much for your participation and patience. Remember to fill the attendance forms and see you tomorrow.